I'm Mushtaq Khan. I'm a professor of economics at the School of Oriental and African Studies at the University of London. And I'm here at the conference. I was a discussant in the morning session. The morning session was very interesting because we had two papers. One was a paper setting up a new data set looking at political movements and mobilizations. And the other one was an analytical paper looking at the events in Egypt and explaining that as a form of elite breakdown with the middle class defecting from the regime because of an inability to work out the distribution of benefits between them. And I think that these were both very important and interesting papers, and they have a common theme, and that's what I said in my comments on the papers, that the basic issue of successful transitions and also the breakdown of ruling coalitions is the role of organizations. If the ruling coalition is unable to incorporate enough people inside the organizational structure, the ruling coalition feels threatened and doesn't spread the benefits of growth widely enough, and then that has an effect of being a self-fulfilling prophecy, that the ruling coalition then becomes more and more unsustainable. And I think to some extent that's what Isaac Dewan's paper was talking about, the breakup of that coalition. And it was a very good description, but I would add the role of organizations, because the challenge now for Egypt is how should the middle class construct organizations which can operate in a competitive democratic environment by incorporating enough of the poor and yet spreading the benefits of growth more broadly. And here I think the lessons of other developing countries with democracies like India, Indonesia, Thailand, Pakistan, Bangladesh and so on tells us that the construction of organizations in these contexts requires actually a lot of patron-client politics. It requires middle-class organizations to be inclusive of the poor, and that in a context where the tax revenue is very limited requires patron-client politics and requires organizational activity. It requires building big organizations. And here is the weakness of the Egyptian case, which also comes out in the first paper we heard on data, that the data tells us that when you have regime change by unorganized mobilizations, they generally tend to fail. So the challenge for Egypt is to come up quickly with organizations of the middle class, but including large sections of the poor, which can operate in a new democratic context.